Hello and welcome to Real Estate Audio Quick Tips. My name's Lee Woodward of the Real Estate Academy, and joining me is the sales architect, Mr. Mark McGill from Amber Worsham Property. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much, Lee.
Firstly, thank you for all your help. We're getting some wonderful emails and feedback from these little quick tips, or snacks as we call them, as people have all these questions in their mind, and listening on the road is a great way to learn. Today's interesting tip is around the should I buy or sell first? Many people, Mark, have this in-depth fear that if I sell the place I'm in, I've got nowhere to go, I'll have nowhere to live. It's a terrifying thought, but there's more to this whole part of buy and sell. What guidance can you give?
Well, ultimately, what we advise people always depends on their individual circumstances. I sound like a financial planner there. So quite often, there are pros and cons to both methods. You can buy a property first and then obviously sell your existing property second.
What's the risk though?
So the risk is that you have committed to the future property. You've signed a contract. There's two ways of doing it. You could either buy it outright, and a term like bridging finance is commonly used. So you're paying interest on the two properties.
Well, you've got two loans as well.
You've got two lots of loans. So
does everyone qualify for two loans?
Not everyone can. A lot of people actually need to sell their property first in order to purchase the new property.
So really, this could be a financial question first before emotional.
Yep.
Like someone may think, I'd like to go that way, but make sure that's an option before you get yourself into trouble.
Absolutely. But there are some pros to that as well, because obviously one of the pros is that you know exactly where you're moving to. Perhaps the perfect properties come up and you actually are in a position where you can jump on it, but you just have to be aware that you do have a need to sell your other property. You just need to make sure that you don't get caught out, especially in a situation where people might overestimate the value of their existing property. Then they're in a situation where they can't afford to sell the second property either, and then they get stuck with servicing the two loans.
So let's take an example where someone says, look, all these options are foggy, but I want to be as best prepared as I could. I strongly believe the future belongs to the prepared. What preparation could they do in advance, Mark, that would compress the risk of time? And what I mean by that is if I rang you today saying I need to sell my place, there's a lot of stuff you've got to do to make that happen. People think you're on the market the next day, but with photography and internet and words and text and bookings, there's more to it. And just for our listener, there's actually 137 components to list a property, to sell a property and settle. It's not just a couple of things. What guidance could you give there?
Well, what I could give is obviously preparation is key. So having some of the basic things, or at least allowing the time for that preparation. So typically it would take about 2 weeks of solid work to prepare the property for sale. And that's getting it cleaned up, getting it ready, turning around photos, writing editorial, getting approval for text and information from the sellers, even things like organising signboards, just all of that stuff. It takes about 2 week process to get from woe to go.
So someone could do all the photos preparation, because I know on one of our other quick tips, you have investors take their photos months in advance so that when it is time to hit the button, you are ready to run, you've got your specification document. That could be considered first as part of the move.
Absolutely. So we've got plenty of examples where we've got a library bank of photos, we've got the marketing campaign all prepared, everything's done, it's just not public. We've just got to hit a button on the internet and it's good to go.
So Mark, what should our listener do?
Well, probably the first thing is it's worth maybe getting someone like ourselves or one of your local agents to come through, and we can give you a bit of a changeover analysis so we can work out the cost of selling your existing property and also the purchase cost of the new property. And from there, you at least have some information to make an educated decision.
Mark McGill, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lee.